So yesterday I got the LipoSpirit Vitamin C. Comes in a package of 30 packets. And it's goo that you have to squeeze out. And I didn't take any yesterday because I had just eaten when I got the box, and it said have on an empty stomach and then wait at least 15 minutes before having any food. So I figured I would wait until today. And last night it took me longer to fall asleep, and when I was falling asleep I had that sort of jolt thing happen 2 times. And it wasn't accompanied with the fear and the panic and the real electric shock feeling, but it was just a jolt, and it reminds me of how it can turn into something more scary. So that's the first experience like that I've had in a while, and it's just scarier being on the lower dosages of these medications. And that's why Hardy Nutritionals recommended this vitamin C product. So this morning I took a packet before our breakfast, and then I just had one for before lunch. And I'm wondering if there'll be any changes tonight, if I will fall asleep without any trouble. That's the hope. It's LipoSpirit Vitamin C. So the vitamin C is in a phospholipid bilayer, and that makes it way more bioavailable. And it says supports a healthy immune system and optimal overall health, helps protect cells from the damage caused by harmful free radicals, promotes muscle repair and recovery, and the best one of all, increases skin firmness and reduces fine lines and wrinkles in as little as 4 weeks. 2 people recently have thought I was in my early 20s, and I'm in my mid-30s. So maybe I will look even younger after taking this. So at 2 packets a day, I'm going to run out of this pretty quick. So I will likely order this again in a week if I'm finding that it's helpful. I don't know if I need to take it beyond the tapering off period. I could ask them about that when I call them on Monday. But the good thing about the sleep thing right now is that even though I'm getting less sleep, I'm waking up before my alarm. I woke up at about 6:40 this morning, and I probably didn't fall asleep till about 11. I'm still feeling pretty alert and rested. So before, if I didn't fall asleep, it would be a big deal. And then I would take something to fall asleep, but the trouble is the drug would make me sleepier and sleep longer. So I would wake up feeling like I needed more sleep when it could have just been the meds. So now that I'm on not such of a high dose, I'm feeling less drugged, and I'm feeling more like 8 hours of sleep is enough, and I don't need 10 to 12 hours every single night, which is nice. I really like that. And I took a little video of making my juice this morning. So here's the LipoSpirit Vitamin C. It says enjoy it in 1 ounce to 3 ounces of cold juice, and that it will not dissolve. And it's kind of a liquid. Well, it is a liquid. So that's about enough because it says to swallow it in 1 gulp. much juice for one gulp. That's quite nice. And it also says wait at least 15 minutes before eating. So that's easy enough to do. And I'm not sure about working on stuff, if that's a good idea, or if I should just be resting and relaxing. I do feel antsy just to go home, and that's a little bit distracting. And I'm wondering if part of that is a premonition, like I should go home. Like, is my subconscious mind making me really miss home because I should go home because something could happen? I really am playing with fire by staying down here while I'm tapering off, especially this last little bit. I did try to taper off meds 2 years ago, and I did it really, really slowly over a period of about 7 months. And I even went really slow on the lithium taper, about 20 milligrams each time, and I actually opened the capsules and weighed out different dosages to really slowly do it, to hopefully be successful. And I was off my medications for about 3 weeks, and after the 3 weeks, I went into a psychosis, and I was in it for 3 days, and then I ended up in the hospital. And then ever since then, I've been in and out of the hospital. I was in the hospital that time for about 8 to 10 days, and then I was out for 6 to 8 months, back in for 8 to 10 days, out for 6 to 8.5 months, and then back in, and then that was a bad time, which I was in there for about 33 days, and since then I've been really trying to avoid it. So before I was hospitalized that time, I had been out of the hospital for about 8 months. Then I was re-hospitalized. And I was thinking about how at 8.5 months, I had another episode of all the scary stuff. And I was thinking about how I maxed out at 8.5 months between events of psychosis, as it's called. But I only realized yesterday that since I wasn't hospitalized, it's actually the longest I've gone without being hospitalized in about 2.5 years. So I haven't been hospitalized now for 13 months. So even though I did have that episode that I was able to manage at home, I didn't have to go to the hospital. So the episode happened, but I didn't go to the hospital. So it's been 13 months without a hospitalization, which is great. And then when I was down here, I had a little bit mini stuff, so I took the extra Seroquel, but I still have managed to stay out of the hospital. So I think having more and more time out of the hospital, of not going back, is more important than if I have any kind of distress. This is the other half of the smoothie I made this morning. Still good. Yesterday I actually ate a lot of salad, and I haven't done that since I got here. Or energy, and once I feel a bit more clear, not so medicated, I start doing healthy things. So it's not a matter of me saying to myself, oh, I should be eating salad and I should be doing all these healthy things. Once I'm starting to come off these meds, I just automatically start doing the healthy things that I like to do when I'm not feeling so drugged up. So yeah, it's getting into dicey territory with the medication reduction, and we'll see what happens. if I don't sleep well tonight, then maybe I should buy a train ticket home, because I can't jump on a train for about 2 weeks because it gets sold out at certain points, and I'm going a long way on the train. I could fly, but I don't really love flying. I find it kind of stressful. So we'll see what happens. 2 months from now, I'll be waking up at home for sure, because if I take the train, it will arrive kind of at midnight on the 25th, and then I'll wake up on the 26th, and today's the 26th of May, so 2 months at the longest to go home. And last night I watched the movie Arrival, and they mentioned that, I googled it, and it says, a hypothesis first advanced by Edward Sapir in 1929 and subsequently developed by Benjamin Whorf, that the structure of language and native speakers determines a native speaker's perception and categorization. That the structure of a language determines a native speaker's perception and categorization of experience. And I was thinking about how I feel like mania, going into map consciousness and transconsciousness, is putting our brains in contact with a different language and a different worldview. And it's very different from the worldview and language that we are accustomed to, but it's an immersion into that, and it changes the way we perceive and categorize our experiences. And it also tries to change the way that we use language. So right now I feel like language is using the brain, and it creates the brain to see in a certain way, but that's not the only way. And it's different even between languages. And I don't know any other languages, so I can't really comment. I know a little bit of Spanish, and I was learning, and I was fascinated by the different ways they speak and have different sentence structures and everything. So this hypothesis is also called linguistic relativity. And it says the principle of linguistic relativity holds that the structure of language affects its speaker's worldview or cognition. So I want to learn to speak Mania and actually have that fully as a worldview, and the way that my brain. And the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is also called Whorfianism. And I think that we who go into mania can create a word called Manianism. It's just a way of seeing the world. It's a different language. And it could actually be that we can become bilingual. We can speak regular consensus consciousness in terms of the reality we usually interact with, and also learn how to speak this other language. And in the movie, the main character has to communicate with these aliens, and they have to kind of learn each other's language. And I won't say anything more because that could spoil the movie, but I saw some similarities in that when this language of mania takes over the brain, we see in that way. So it's not really apart from the energy and language that is. It's a different language, and it's getting our brains to use language differently and create new language. Which, the important thing too, is to see in new ways. So we see in new ways, so we create new language in mania, or say different things and have different thoughts, and in a way we're creating those thoughts. A lot of them are new thoughts, and we're thinking, where are these coming from? And sometimes they feel quite genius, but it's like we're creating new memes to to share. We're creating new language, and some of that, if adopted, would change the way we see the world as human beings. And I'm not saying all of it is great. There's a lot of crap in there, there's a lot of garbage, but that's part of the process, the hyperlanguage creation. So really, mania and these altered states could just be linguistic relativity. The trouble is, when we're speaking in different ways to people that know us a certain way, they're going to think that something's wrong. But this language creation process and seeing in new ways process could be something very important. And when one is walking in consensus reality while seeing it differently and speaking about it differently, we need people to be understanding and to support us along that journey. And to understand we're creating language and seeing in different ways doesn't mean it's the right way. But what is the right way? And it's definitely not the wrong way. And there could be something to gather from that, not just suppress. If we all walk alongside each other when in those states, it's just, I can see what I'm saying. And I don't know if I talked about the blessing of that bad psych ward experience was that I'd had enough. And nothing could be worse than that. So it made it worth the risk of coming off the meds, because that was really bad, having extra meds. And where I left off in my notebook, the notes from a while ago, interestingly enough, I wrote antipsychotics as suppression of new language from perceptions. So that's exactly what I was just saying in a different way. Perceptions, worldviews, ways of seeing and thinking about things, new perceptions create new language. And the realm of map consciousness and trance consciousness and mania, it's all new. It's not necessarily new in space and time, though it could be in some ways. But it's new in the sense of being of a different quality. And so every perception is new and feels new. We're not lost in the known thoughts repeating itself, but we're immersed in this unknown. So the medications suppress the evolution of seeing, of expanding perceptions and perspectives, and creating new language and ways of talking about it. And the motives in those states, if there are any, are to play and to be related, to share, to interact with beauty and with living things. And the state of map consciousness is kind of like a state of immense maybiness and immense I don't know-ness. The current nature of the brain is to entertain a current of thought that moves us away from the present moment. And I wonder if sometimes the mind wanders to a beautiful part of the present moment. But if it's not something that we think we should be thinking about or focusing on, we call it mind wandering. But maybe the mind and the eyes and the brain are looking for something else than that which they are filled with. When the actual eyes are used to see beauty, it grows those areas in the brain. And can we speak in terms of possibility? And what are the terms of possibility? What are the words of possibility? And what are the terms of being able to live in possibility? As in not the words, but the sort of guidelines and rules. And in another video I created the words "see willing possibilities."